Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. This is Brian Jennings, your host and MC. Haven't played that song in a long time. It's pretty fucking good, I'd say. And this channel is dedicated to processing my pathological relationship with Quentin Tarantino. Right? This video, and in turn the clips that emerge out of it, will bring us to 200 videos that I've made over some 8 weeks. And really it's only like 40, but I typically get at least 4 videos out of each video. I have the introduction, the reading from the novel, after the reading, and then a piece of Shakespeare or a song. Sometimes both, sometimes I get 5. Right? But we're reading through the novel, right? The novel's getting very good. I love all these pages a lot. We're leading into, right, what page are we on now? We're on 393 of 479. So we're just barreling towards the end, right, which is February of this year, right? And so, right, what I'll say is that all of the most palpable evil occurred after April of this year, right? I wrote Anastasio and Fish about helping me and Quentin reconcile. And I see now, it's so obvious now that he showed them my letter and he showed the curse that I sent him, which is what he asked me to do, and said, he's nothing to me, he's not, right? He's just a weird, sad guy, right? And never told them that he canceled the movie because of my reviews, never told them about Jackie Brown, right? Did the same thing with the Discovery Institute and David Berlinski, and had a nice hearty har at the thought of my heroes, right, thinking me completely insane when I wrote them from a place of love. And I don't know that they believe that anymore. I think that, you know, it's gotten successfully fucked up enough for them to question, right, his tactics, his ethics. He has no ethics, right? So the novel, right, is called Building a Coven, right? Right, and as the days continue to progress, right, the fog is lifting, right, because I was clouded by trust for a long time, right? So, right, after I failed to bend to his psychic whim at a screening of Jackie Brown at De Niro Con, this is the lanyard for my ticket, Quentin, and at least 2 women and perhaps one other guy as well, though it could all just be Quentin, right, entered into a campaign to overwhelm my mind, right, to compel me to madness and suicide so that he could have my scene for free. I sent him the most badass scene that anyone's ever sent him, about a writer, right? The movie Critic is about a guy who reviews movies, right? That's why he canceled the film, because I started reviewing movies in protest. Right? And so, I've done so much. We're reading this novel right now, right? And it's a novelization of my experiences, all out of respect, out of trust, out of saying, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry about not giving you what you wanted, but now I see I chose the right side. He's not cool at all. It's a game to him, right? That's why, right? So in his mind, right, when I abandoned all of my worldly possessions, right, and I threw myself onto the street in LA, right, he saw someone who was desperate for fame. And of course that ain't me. That's a lot of people, but it ain't me, right? I did everything that I did because, right, this thing that we're talking on here, right, clairvoyance, right, the psychic phenomenon, it ain't got nothing to do with money. Right? And so the source of my anxiety and my fear is the fact that he's created a hive mind between us, right? That we're like all the way keyed in, right? And so my fear is that he's going to send someone to assassinate me, to kill me, to actually kill me, or he'll continue doing evil. And I know the people around him got upset when they saw that I wrote Westboro Baptist Church, right? Because if I write them enough, right? And surely all of those people, right, that he alleged I was insane to, right, they all said there's no way this guy would write Westboro Baptist Church. There's no way he would, right? But I have the right to live, right? So everyone around him, they all insulate and protect his evil. Right? What does Sony have to say about it? So he had this movie, the movie Critic, right? And like the engine was rolling, right? And then he said no, right? Played all these fucked up mind games with me, right? And admittedly, he set me up, gave me the softball pitch, slow pitch, right? And I chose to turn around, right? All I had to do was bark like a dog, and no one does it better, right? But from then, right, Sony and William Morris Endeavor have both insulated his sick, evil campaign against my sanity, right, that he can always deny, right? And now he's stolen my wisdom and has really descended into a palpable evil, right? And so hopefully it's subsided, because they know I'll keep writing Westboro Baptist, no bullshit, right? And if they don't want to reply to my emails, I'll get a one-way ticket to where the church is. Start going there every Sunday. And I'll get in real good with them in no time, right? I'm real fucking charming, you dig? Right? And I'll have them picketing outside of WME's office forever. Right? This ain't, no. This ain't, right? Right? So my point, right, is that if he was actually cool, right? That if he wasn't really evil and depraved, right, and pathological, he would have looked in his heart, right? He would have looked to everyone that he does have control over and said, I know what's good in my life. This guy didn't want to play. He doesn't want to play by my rules. Right? My movie, my rules. Right? Here's $5 million for your scene. Now you go play Hamlet in North Dakota. Right? And I would have signed the paper. I would have signed the non-disclosure and said, okay, fair enough. It's your show. Right? Right? But that's bullshit. That's all bullshit now. Right? That doesn't mean anything to me. Right? I've gone through the 7 stages of grief, right? And so now I am at acceptance, as well as fear, of course, perpetual fear and anxiety, right? Right? And he's on edge too, constantly. Right? Everyone around him, right? There's no way, if anyone who's like actually in the know, right? Then they know that he's created a really sick, dangerous psychological condition, right? That there's no going back from. Right? So, right, the daughter, right, her name is Willow, right, it was alleged her name is Allison. Allison Tarantino is a real girl on Instagram, Allogene_3 or 4. I don't know that she has anything to do with him. Another guy just proposed to her, right? And so that's, maybe he does know her, and that's like why he did it, because like she was like in a relationship, and she's the first bitch who pops up with his last name, so I suspect he doesn't know her. Right? But someone who looks a lot like her did walk by me at 1822 North Vermont, and as well as Triangle Park in Culver City. Right? So, right? He's not interested in simple honesty. That's the point. That's the point. And if I had known, I would have never wrote him. Right? Well, I could say I would have given him what he wanted. Right? But I didn't. Right? And that must mean something. Because I knew what he wanted. Right? There's something, right, that this thing that he does, right? It's a divine celestial resonance. Right? It ain't got nothing to do with the fucking movies. It has something to do with writing. 100%. Casting spells and spelling, right? These are two. Right? So everything that we're entrenched in now is all espoused in the first 10 pages of the novel, which is an essay titled On Magic. Right? And he's taken those words and done really fucked up things. Right? And that's his right on the crudest level, right? Just like it's my right to write Westboro Baptist, right? Just like it's my right to have this channel, right? He could say I'm insane, right? And what I'm saying is, right? Release the footage of you and De Niro having a conversation after the screening of Jackie Brown. And then I'm insane. right? If I'm just insane, right? If I'm just a crazed fan, right? Then release that conversation because it has nothing to do with me, right? Right. So, right, he has expectations, right, of the people who act in his films, and I didn't want to give him that power in that moment. He played his games for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, right? Not for a day, not for a week. I wanted him to look me in the eye, right? I wanted him to, right? I'm not a dog, right? I'm not a show pony, right? So again, right? Sure, it's, per his standards, it's my fault, right? But I would say it's his fault because it's his event, right? I don't do something and leave anything to chance. No. I don't have good luck. Right? So? Right? You wanna stick your nose up in my letter now, in that moment. You wanna turn your back on me now, in that moment. Right? And so I did the same thing. Right? I followed his direction. Right? He didn't have to make it a fucked up mind game. That's my point. Sure, regrets. Again, I sacrificed everything, right? Some part of my sanity forever, right? Oh, gosh, look how cool he is. Yeah, fuck that guy. No, he's an evil man who's sad and angry, right? And this isn't even touching on in any way, right? All the secrets that I stole from him, right? Like, yeah, he stole all of mine and used them against me with the heroes that I wrote to help us reconcile, right? Which is its own kind of sad. And I want to say pathetic, but I guess, he has his tactics. But what I'm saying is that it's a pendulum. It swings both ways. I've stolen all of his secrets as well. And I've mentioned it on here before. I'm not going to go on and on because I'm going to read from my novel. But it's a dangerous, sick condition, right? And so this channel exists to bring the public at large into the conversation, right? Because it behooves me not at all to keep this thing occulted. WME doesn't care, right? His agency insulates evil. That's like... They're just like indifferent, right? They've known about it for over a year now, right? Sony has known about it for over a year now, right? These big corporations, right? They're interested in satanic occultism, right? That's you see the board, right? I know the game. So I'm on my spiritual journey, right? Under the delusion that Trey Anastasio wants to help me put on Hamlet. And his daughter Eliza is interested in playing Ophelia and is also in love with me. Remember, building a coven, right? And so what I'll say is I'm seeing like the pages that we're at here now, right? Of course, Eliza, right? Like she ain't a supermodel, right? A real sweet, generous girl, I'm sure. Really loving, I have no doubt. And I could love her madly just as much as any woman, right? But, of course, right? They're portraying her in a particular way. Right? Which is to say, the ugly duckling. Right? And, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right? Psychologically, everything is reducible, right? Everything that's occurring here on this page, right? Like creation, right? Has a psychological mirror in one of their minds. Right? And so I would say that means that Daniela thinks that her sister is an ugly duckling. That's right. Or Quentin's just sick and it's all him.